Tick-tock, time to rock.
Yo, 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 yo.
They thought it was a joke, AP. They thought we were playing a game. They didn't think we were serious.
We're not playing games. We don't do that.
Hey, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone who's watching from all around the world. Shout out to the Boom Squad. I see you guys over there in the chat. I've seen the emojis here while we're getting ready. AP, how you doing?
I am doing very good. I'm doing very well. Everything is. Oh wait, I'm having my wrong microphone. Last time I joined, I noticed that the wrong microphone was on, so my sound quality was kind of bad. I'm going to switch that quickly.
Oh, yeah, you sounded fine before, but yeah, now you have a different kind of sound. Go ahead.
Now I sound better, right? Yeah, now I sound good.
Yeah,
awesome.
now you sound more like a psychiatrist. Share your feelings with the group.
That's good. So thank you everyone for joining and for listening to my voice, which it is a pleasure to share this. Don't take me seriously. Don't cringe right now. You can save your cringe for the greatest human in history who had the ability to have sexual intercourse with 9 of his wives in one night, and it would only take one bath.
Hey,
that was his superpower.
Hey, you forgot YouTube's new terms of service went into effect, and they have new rules, and they're about to release, I think in January, the new community guidelines. So, AP, we have to get with the program, man. We can't be condemning Muhammad for all this stuff that we used to condemn him for, right? We have to adapt. We have to say, it was a different time. It's a different place, and who are we to judge a man simply for going to 9 different wives in a city where the average high temperature during the summer was 109 degrees, and to go from wife to wife to wife to wife all 9 times and only take one bath afterwards? Who are we to say that there's anything wrong with that? So, guys, we're becoming the new Sharia compliant YouTube community guidelines compliant David Wood and Apostate Prophet, because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, because here on YouTube now, if you hurt someone's feelings, it's hate speech.
Dear YouTube trust and safety team, dear viewers, dear gentle, wonderful, kind viewers, I want to sincerely apologize for all the disrespect that I meant and said previously about the Prophet Muhammad, who was undoubtedly a morally very different man, and whom we can, because he was very different, whom we cannot judge. And if I did judge him before, if I made such a mistake, I just don't judge me, please. We have changed. We have learned that we have changed. We are different now.
We are different men, and I thank the Apostate Prophet for his heartfelt apology. And I'd like to apologize for sharing so many facts. Years ago, I started reading the Muslim sources, and I noticed how it was completely different from what Muslim leaders were telling their followers in the mosques and so on. And so the Muslim population had a completely twisted view of Muhammad and his teachings and his example. And they're going around saying these things about Muhammad that were completely false according to their own sources. And so I didn't like the fact that so many people were trapped in ignorance, and I wanted to show them the truth so that they could make an informed decision about what they wanted to believe and not be basing their views upon deception and manipulation. But I now recognize that was hateful of me. That was very, very hateful of me to want people to be able to think for themselves and form conclusions based on true claims. That was hateful of me. I should have just supported the deception and the manipulation, and I should have just gone along with it. That's what YouTube wants. That's what we're left with.
Just like me, I think everyone can hear the sincerity in David's voice, and how it comes from the bottom of his heart. And right
here.
Right there.
It comes from my aorta. It comes right from my aorta.
That is absolutely right. So.
Which Allah severed on Muhammad for lying. Wait, dang it!
You cannot say that.
Bad, David. Bad.
You cannot
Bad,
say
David.
that.
Stop that.
We
Okay.
are different people now.
Different people. Can't connect the dots in Islam. You can't point out that Allah said he would sever Muhammad's aorta for inventing a false revelation, and then point out that Muhammad died saying he could feel his aorta being severed. You can't make connections like that. It's hate speech. It's hate speech to do that. I apologize, everyone. I didn't mean to do that. All right, AP, we actually have a perfect example here of what we're talking about. Check this out.
Am I the perfect example?
No. This comment I'm pulling up right now.
Okay. I know, I'm just kidding.
So we've got the Swagger Husky here. We've got the Swagger Husky, and he says, David Wood, if you see my super chat, Muslims pride their religion on modesty right now, but how can they pride it on modesty if their prophet ordered Muslim women to suckle or breastfeed grown men? How is that modesty? Now, AP, why don't you explain what the situation is? Because there are always viewers who, joined in because, they subscribe based on some other video they saw, and they don't know a lot of these issues. Why don't you tell people what this issue is in Islamic history? And,
I have to be very honest, David.
Yeah, and maybe we'll tell them what we would have said years ago when, criticizing anything Muhammad said wasn't hate speech, and but then we'll go on to praise and glorify Muhammad for this brilliant and beautiful teaching. But go ahead.
Well, the issue here, the single problem that I have here is that I have so much respect for that topic, for the suckling, that I haven't ever actually looked into it in detail. I never could bring myself to, in all my humility, I could never actually sit down and read that, because I thought I'm not worthy of actually informing myself on the topic at all. So that is always something that I left to people who are more important than I am.
Oh, you've never made a video on this, have you?
No, I haven't.
Well, I've made like 8 videos on this, so so let me go through it real quick.
You're a professional in that topic, so go ahead.
So here's what you have, and you could go to you could go to my videos on this, but here's what happened in Islamic history. An issue arose because adultery was a concern, and we already saw the issue with Muhammad so much as seeing a woman walking down the street. AP, go ahead and break that down for us real quick in case they didn't see our videos last time. But we'll see how this is actually connected to the issue of breastfeeding.
Muhammad, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, one day was walking outside, and he saw a woman who was walking through the streets, and who was being a woman. Imagine a woman is walking through the streets. Can you think of that? And Muhammad saw that woman, and he immediately felt disturbed by the sight of the woman. He thought, this cannot be, a woman in the street. So he rushed home to one of the homes of his wives. Muhammad had multiple homes, each for each wife. So he found his dearest, very attractive wife, Zainab, who is also his cousin. He found her tanning leather, being in the middle of a very dirty profession. And he immediately went to her, interrupted her during her work, and relieved his sexual desire with his wife Zainab. The sexual desire, the sexual pressure that this evil woman who was shameful enough to walk outside caused. Afterwards, after he relieved his pressure, he went out to his believers, to his Muslim followers, and said to them, "The woman comes and goes in the shape of a devil. So if one of you sees a woman, he should immediately go to his wife, because that will relieve what he feels in his heart."
Yeah, guys. So keep in mind, Muhammad sees a woman on the street. He has to run home because his sexual desires are out of control, and it's the woman who's the devil, not him for having perverted thoughts about a random woman who's walking down the street. It's not his fault. It's her fault. She's the devil. Well, what does that mean? It means that if a man starts lusting after a woman, which Muhammad did, he's the perfect man after all, if a man starts lusting after a woman, it's the woman's fault. And so this is connected to Islam's claims that that women need to cover themselves, right? Women need to cover their heads at least, cover their faces is even better, according to many Muslim scholars. But they have to cover themselves. Why? It's their responsibility. Well, think about how this is connected to the issue of suckling grown men. Obviously, women are supposed to cover themselves and so on, but there's a situation where a woman might be working around a man on more familiar terms. In other words, if she has a man who works in her household, right? So male slave or something like that, someone who works in her house when she's not out and might not necessarily be fully covered and so on. How is a man supposed to know that his wife is being faithful when she might be around another man, right? And if she tempts him, it's her fault anyway, right? According to Islam. So this issue was brought to Muhammad. A man came to Muhammad and said, Muhammad, I've got a problem. I go out of town and we have a man who works in our house around my wife. How am I going to know that she's remaining faithful when I'm gone? So Muhammad went to Allah through the angel Gabriel to get the revelation. Keep in mind, though, the angel who revealed this to Muhammad is the source of all of Muhammad's revelations in the Quran, according to Islam. The angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel revealed, as part of the Quran, that if you're worried about your wife maintaining her chastity around other guys, very simply, you have her breastfeed the man 10 times. You have her breastfeed the man 10 times. So that was the solution that Allah sent to Muhammad through the angel Gabriel. Have your wife put her breasts in the man's mouth on 10 occasions, and what this will do is he'll be her foster son, basically, right? He'll be her foster son, and so he won't be attracted to his foster mom. That would be gross. Now, this
is very important.
Yeah, well, that is so. There. By the way, there are a couple things here. One, you had that revelation. Women didn't like it. Women complained. So that actually got abrogated. That revelation got abrogated and changed to 5. So you have to breastfeed them 5 times, and it's even in the Muslim sources. It can't just be once or twice. That's not enough to really firmly establish you as the guy's foster mom. So it's got to be 5 or 10 times to really establish that you are a foster mom, and so that this man will no longer be sexually attracted to you. So basically, you have to put your breasts in this man's face and in his mouth so many times that he won't be attracted to you anymore. This is the solution of the great God Allah. Now, notice the problem here, right? Obviously, breastfeeding a man doesn't make you like his it doesn't make you his real mother, right? It doesn't make you his real mother. How did I never make a video on this? I should have made a video on this, AP. If you want an awesome video topic, AP, here it goes. Good. I see you want to jump in. Go ahead. Now I'm going to tell you the awesome point here.
No, I'm amazed right now by why I never went into this, why I never read more about this, why I never talked about this, why I never made a topic about this.
It's about to get awesomer.
Okay.
Check this out, right? So the reason is, I think you can make like a top 10 list of all the problems here, right? Because, you have the issue of, well, wait a minute, it's supposedly in the Quran. You go to the Muslim sources, it's supposed to be in the Quran. The verse about breastfeeding an adult 10 times and the verse about breastfeeding an adult 5 times. They're supposed to be in the Quran. They're not in the Quran. What happened? Well, according to Sunan Ibn Majah, 1954, Aisha had the only copy, and a sheep came in and ate the copy after Muhammad's death. Notice, after Muhammad died, that's when these verses came up missing, because Aisha was the only one who had the copy. So that's one issue. But what I wanted to make a video, I pointed all that out before. What I don't think I've ever pointed out, and I really think is worthy of a video, and I think it's kind of a devastating point, right? Notice the claim. Breastfeeding an adult man, that's not going to make you his biological mother. So why should that stop the two of you from having sex? And it's, well, yeah, but I've officially, in some Islamic sense, become his foster mother, so he's like my adopted son now, and I can't have sexual relations there. Wait a minute. What did we learn from the incident with Zainab? Everyone remember? Yeah. So Muhammad had an adopted son, and then Muhammad married his wife, which was illegal in Islam for real sons. You couldn't marry the you couldn't marry the wife of your real son. But Allah jumped in there and said, hey, they're not your real sons, so it doesn't matter, right? No, wait a minute. If adopting someone as your real son does not establish any rules about who and who you're not allowed to have sex with, then how in the name of common sense can you say breastfeeding a man 10 times makes him technically your foster son, and therefore you couldn't have sex with him? Do you guys understand the problem here? It's like in the issue of the breastfeeding. It's saying, since you guys have some weird non-biological relationship that's similar to adoption here, then you guys are never going to have sex, and we know this. But then when Muhammad gets into a sexual relationship with his adopted son's wife after causing the divorce, and the objection arises, wait a minute, you can't do that with your son's wife. That's forbidden. The response is, no. We're not. There's no real relationship there. You see the problem? If fostering or adopting, you got to pick one. Muslims have to pick one. If fostering someone establishes some real relationship that you can classify things as haram and so on with, then the same would apply with Muhammad's adopted son. Likewise, if adopting a son does not establish any rules about what you're allowed to do sexually, if it doesn't do that, then why would it do that with breastfeeding a man 10 times? You see, it's almost like Muhammad's just inventing this as he goes along. And wait, dang it! Have I been making fun of him this entire time? I keep forgetting, man.
Don't do it.
It's habit. I apologize, everyone. I didn't mean anything I just said.
We are new people. It seems like, if you look at it, it looks like Muhammad made an arbitrary rule about suckling, where through suckling a woman becomes your mother, and you cannot have sex with her anymore. You cannot be attracted to her anymore. And but in another case, which is completely similar, where Muhammad feels sexually attracted to his adoptive son's beautiful wife. He says, well, he was only my adopted son, not my real son, so that doesn't prevent me from snapping from getting his wife and marrying her and having sexual relationships with her. On the surface, this looks like Muhammad was just acting. He was just making these rules up, and he was just doing whatever is in his own personal favor. But of course, that would be a very bad judgment on our parts, because we are new people now, and we don't say such things anymore. We don't want to disrespect the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who is also the greatest person in human history. That said, everybody, please suckle the like button.
Breastfeed the like button 10 times if you can.
No, 5 times. I changed it 5 times. Let's do it 5 times. Okay.
Yeah. So guys, here
this is the new rule.
Something that we're going to have to be saying over and over again. Who are we to judge another person's culture? If the great God Allah decides to reveal that the way for men and women to avoid any sort of sexual tension or any attraction to each other, if the way to avoid that is by the woman putting her breasts in the man's mouth, hey, Allah knows best, right? Allah knows better than we do. Now, we may be sitting here in the 21st century thinking, hey, wait a minute, that's a really bad idea. Putting your breasts in a man's mouth to avoid being sexually attracted to each other, that'll never work. But we're not the great God Allah. That's why he's the great God, and we're not.
And you cannot judge a different culture by the stupid standards of the 21st century.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to Cheryl R for the super sticker there. Those are interesting. I've only seen a couple super stickers. Have you seen those? The super stickers?
I deactivated those because I found them annoying. I should reactivate them.
Oh yeah. So it's different because the super chat just goes up at the top and it puts it, and the people post a comment. But a super sticker, you can actually have something. I don't know what the selection is like, but I don't know what, is there like a list of different things, different like dancing things? Yeah. There was like a dancing thing up there.
I looked at that. I saw that as a new function. I looked at that and I thought, what is this? Who's going to use that? I'm just going to deactivate this. And then afterwards, during our live chat, several people asked me why that is not available because they wanted to use it.
We hate you, AP. We're unsubscribing. You disabled super stickers.
Yeah, I have to reactivate them.
And shout out to Dan M as well, and actually have a couple of those. I'm reading a comment here. I'm scrolling through it, to see if I can put it on the screen. If not, I'll just read it real quick. But the average gamer says hijab uses Arabic as important, yet the Quran nor Hadith says Arabic is important for understanding Islam. Only Day of Judgment Arabs have a messenger sent down in their own tongue. And I've made a video that's along the lines of that topic, namely why the Quran was revealed in Arabic. And guys, this is actually a huge problem for Islam and for what Muslims say about the Bible, other scriptures, and so on. And the real problem is, if you read the Quran, the reason the Quran was revealed in Arabic is because everyone else already had their prophet. Now, AP, you actually just made a video on this topic. Why don't you go ahead and share the Islamic position on prophets going out in the world?
My most recent video was actually the one about the Muslim claim that Allah had sent prophets to the entire world. That is a very popular, very famous Muslim claim. It especially comes up when a Muslim believer asks scholars what happened to all those people who live too far away. You know, what happened to those? Because Islam claims that Allah's message was always universal, that Allah spoke from the very beginning to all humans, not only to the Israelites, you know, and that of course begs the question: if Allah always spoke to all humans, if His message was always for all humankind, then what exactly happened to all those humans who were far away on the other side of the world? Mm-hmm. So Muslim apologists then say, well, the Quran says that prophets were sent to the entire world, to all nations, and the Quran does indeed say twice or three times that there was no nation in the world that Allah did not send prophets to. And this looks like the Quran is very ignorant on the subject, because it is a known thing that by Abrahamic belief, that by biblical belief and tradition, God spoke to the Israelites. He didn't send prophets all around the world all the time, and he didn't send different scripture to the entire world. And what it comes down to, what it looks like, is that Muhammad made this rule up in order to legitimize himself as a prophet, because what was I going? What was the actual question that we were talking about?
Oh, we're talking about the actual question was about the importance of Arabic and understanding Arabic so that you can understand Islam. And then, but the Quran's position, which I turned it over to you because we're kind of introducing the topic of the idea that all places had their prophets, and that just so everyone knows, the reason Muhammad is the seal of the prophets in Islam is because that was the end. Everyone else had their prophet, right? So God sends prophets to everyone in the world, the last people on earth. This is according to the Quran. What we're saying here, this is according to the Quran. The last people to receive a revelation from God were the Arabs. So, and according to the Quran, if the Arabs were standing before Allah on Judgment Day, and they were the only people who didn't have a prophet in their language, they could say, hey, you know, if we'd had a revelation in our own language, then we would have served God better than all these other people.
Oh.
Yeah, and in order to block that defense on Judgment Day, Allah sent them an Arabic prophet, a prophet who speaks Arabic and delivers a revelation in Arabic. And what you see in the Quran, you can look at Surah 5, verse 43. Jews come to Muhammad to settle a dispute. And Allah's response is, why are they coming to you when they have the Torah? Notice what that's actually saying. What Allah is saying, hey, you're a prophet to the Arabs. The Jews have a revelation in their own language. Why in the world are they coming to you, right? Notice the underlying assumption in the entire reason for revealing the Quran in Arabic, the entire basis for revealing the Quran in Arabic is that people need a revelation in their own language, so they don't have to listen to translators. They don't have to go out and learn another language. Notice, it's just hilarious that Muslims today know everyone needs to read one book, the Quran, and everyone needs to go out and learn Arabic. Allah could have said that to the Arabs in the 7th century. He said, well, if you want a revelation, go ask the Jews and learn Hebrew. Right? He doesn't say that. The assumption is that they need a revelation in their own language. But supposedly, according to the Quran, everyone already had that, right? Everyone has a revelation. And so when the Jews come to Muhammad to settle a dispute, Allah's response is, they don't need you, Muhammad. Tell them to go to their Torah. And then just a few verses later, Allah says, and the Christians judge by what Allah has revealed in the gospel. And then the next verse, chapter 5, verse 48, says that Muslims judge by the Quran. So the actual picture you get from the Muslim sources is that each group has the revelation in their own language that they can understand in their own language without someone telling them what it says and without them having to go out and learn all these other languages. That's the position of the Quran. Notice that completely destroys what Muslims believe about the Quran today. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it also says that if Allah had willed, He would have created all of you as one nation, but He did not. He created you as separate people, which also refers to the religious groups. So, yeah, that combines to how ridiculous it is that Muslims that later Islam suddenly turned into this religion that wants to absorb all the subjugate and absorb all the other religions and wants to turn the entire world into Muslims, including destroying Judaism and Christianity. It doesn't make sense. It contradicts with its own scripture. That is ridiculous.
Got some problems. Go ahead.
Good. What? Yeah.
No, I was just agreeing with you. Go ahead.
No, I saw a comment that said AP is AP. That's a very good remark. I have no idea what that means, but someone said, "Is it true that
he could be thinking of?" I don't know what he's thinking of because they're different APs, but my kids are in school right now, so AP is advanced placement, right? So that's when you're taking college level classes in high school. So AP is advanced placement. I don't know if they're thinking of some other AP.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Someone said, Tech9 Holder said, AP, is it true that if you leave Islam, you gain 15 IQ? It is actually 30.
No.
It is 30, I can confirm.
It's not. You lose 1,000 IQ points if you leave Islam because this is new Sharia compliant.
Oh,
yeah. Bad AP. Bad AP. You are in so much trouble. I might go to the YouTube Trust and Safety team and report you. Just let it be known, Trust and Safety team, I immediately corrected him.
In reality, after I left Islam, my IQ went down to negative.
That'll be a video clip from Ali Dawa. He even admits it. This is the proof of what leaving Islam does. He admits it. Aha, we have the proof here.
He might seriously do that. I mean,
it would not surprise me.
Speaking of IQ,
here we go. I'd actually be interested because you actually study the Bible a lot for your videos that you use in criticizing Islam, which we're not doing anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But in the past, you've done that. The old Apostate Prophet would do that. But Swagger Husky here says, Jesus would be harsh with Muhammad like he was with the Pharisees and Sadducees in Matthew 23.
Is that why he calls them hypocrites? I know.
Yeah, you brood of vipers, you whitewash tombs. He's insulting them with that kind of language, and he's mocking them, right? He says, "You strain out a gnat but swallow a camel." And what that means, everyone, is the camel was kind of the largest of unclean animals that people would be around back then, and they weren't allowed to eat them. Oddly enough, Muhammad ate camel, even though he's supposed to be consistent with the Old Testament laws. And Muslims love to go to the Old Testament and says, look, it says you can't eat pork right here. Well, yes, in the exact same passage, it says you can't eat rabbit and you can't eat camel, which Muhammad did both of those. So it's a perfect example. No, dang it. Stop applying logic. That's hate speech. Anyway, all right, I apologize for bringing up the hypocrisy there. I'll try not to do that again. But so on issues,
that's what you would do if you were Islamophobic, but you are not.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to eat camel. The sort of smallest of creatures that that Jews were not allowed to eat would be a gnat, right? A tiny little gnat, right? So the devoutly religious Pharisees, in order to make sure that they didn't accidentally swallow a gnat and thus be swallowing an unclean animal, they would strain their water through a cloth right before drinking it. So they'd strain it out just to make sure there wasn't a little gnat down in there, and they become unclean without realizing it. So Jesus is blasting away at them for all their hypocrisy and for their pride and for walking around like they're really important and for the way they treat others. And he condemns them by saying, you strain out a gnat but swallow a camel, meaning you guys are so focused on getting these little details right that you don't realize you're running around acting like complete hypocrites and so on. So you're doing things that are much worse than swallowing a gnat, and yet you're focused on not swallowing the gnat. So Jesus pointed this out in mocking the Pharisees. So the question, AP, and this is a funny question because AP is not a Christian, AP doesn't believe in God, but what do you think? Do you think Jesus would be harsh with someone like Muhammad?
Of course he would. I mean, of course you know him better. Many of you know him better. I have only read as much as I read. I didn't grow up with it. It is not my faith. But as far as we know, as far as we have seen here, in this specific place of the Bible, as much as you have told too, he would be pretty harsh with Muhammad, right? He would be very harsh with Muhammad. He was harsh with those people, and Muhammad, compared to them, was not someone who was actually learned. He was not someone who was learned and who preached rules and laws and harshness. He was someone who made up new rules and who acted like. How can I self-censor myself now? We're not supposed to say.
Watch what you say. Be careful. Any time you want to lay down a criticism, just say what I would have said before YouTube started massively censoring everything we say is this. But now I condemn that. I condemn myself for saying that.
Yeah, what I would have said is that Muhammad acted like, from our point of view, from our cultural standards,
our bigoted cultural standards.
Our stupid 21st century standards, he acted like a complete animal and an idiot from out of this world who didn't know anything at all and who was uneducated, as the Quran itself calls him as well, and hijacked religion, hijacked Christianity, hijacked Judaism, hijacked the rules, the scripture, the tradition, the God, everything, basically literally everything, and turned it into a new, completely perverted religion that was so much more extreme, that was shallow but harsh to its people, that was built on rules for every moment in your life, and rules that don't make any sense, rules that are completely arbitrary, that go by his 7th century desires that are, of course, from a different culture, which we cannot judge. And of course, he would have been, I guess he would have been extremely harsh with him. Mm-hmm. I would be very interested in actually in having heard that.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, I've talked about this a lot in previous videos when this has come up, because we read the Bible and it encourages loving people and so on, and so the idea is, well, you're not being loving if you're savagely criticizing Muhammad. And then so the biblical response is, wait a minute, Jesus was absolutely brutal in his criticism of religious leaders who were leading other people astray. So do you think he was being loving in that situation or not? I would say yes. I would say in that situation, that was the most loving thing he could do, right?
Yeah.
And so with Muhammad, if you've got people who have been manipulated and lied to all their lives, and we have an opportunity to expose him in epic fashion, then think about this, guys. The times when you really see massive insults and mockery from people in the Bible, when you see prophets just mocking people, when you see in the New Testament, whether it's Jesus or one of the apostles, when they're just mocking someone, it's religious leaders. That's who get it, right? It's religious leaders who are leading other people astray. They're the receivers of mockery. And so as a Christian, as someone who believes in the Bible, I have to look at that and say, well, when the Bible tells me, hey, I'm supposed to love others, I'm supposed to pray for those who persecute us and so on, that has to be consistent with us mocking people who are leading others astray. It has to be consistent. Otherwise, Jesus just wasn't consistent. Jesus was a big hypocrite himself, which is what he was condemning in everyone else. So, and guys, I believe that's absolutely correct. I believe that if you are someone like Muhammad who did the things that Muhammad did, I think you brought this on yourself, right? You deserve it.
Yep.
You deserve it, and it's the best thing for those who are watching to see you mocked. And if you were still around, I would think it's the best thing for him as well. It's the best thing for him to actually be mocked and be put in his place.
I mean, I read a good deal of Old Testament texts of the books of the prophets in the last few years, especially for research purposes, especially in my mission to find out the truth, and also afterwards, after I started criticizing Islam publicly. And the language that you read there in the books of the prophets, how brutal they were, how harsh they were in their criticism of the society, of the people of God, and of evil, of wrongdoers, of hypocrites, and all that stuff. I mean, you haven't even been that harsh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because Christians will message me, David, you're being way too mean. You're being way too mean when you talk to Muslims. And I go, well, what should I be like? You should be more like Jesus. I'm like, what? Like, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites, you whitewashed tombs, because I would never talk to Muslims like that, man. And so what are you talking about, right? Jesus was way more harsh than I am if he was rebuking a religious leader for leading people astray, he was way more brutal. So keep that in mind, everyone.
From my point of view, I would add that Islam spreads a lot of a religion and ideology that is very dominant in the world can be responsible for a lot of evil, a lot of suffering in the world, a lot of perversion in the world, a lot of moral wickedness and human suffering in the world. And if you want to be harsh in your criticism against that, then please, what could possibly be wrong about that? Seeing and knowing that being soft against it doesn't help, and being soft against it is what those who preach evil want you to do. Mm-hmm. How could you insist on being soft?
Yeah, got to be savage sometimes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, got to be bad.
Got to be a bad dude. Wow, no, but not here on YouTube. Here on YouTube, you're only savage against people who dare to criticize Islam. So you could be savage against people like the old David Wood and the old Apostate Prophet, but the new Sharia compliant us is we're on the right page. We're on the right track. We're going to take us a while to reform ourselves, but
I take that to heart.
Bear with us.
And be savage to the like button, and
and breastfeed it. Hey, AP, here's actually a good one. Oh, before I read this, guys, there's a lot of people over here complaining. Why is there slow mode? There's slow mode because I can't read any comments. Some people, like, I understand it can be difficult because some people are going to argue and discuss with other people, and they need to be typing their responses as fast as they can. And if they can't, they're like, I can't wait until slow mode allows me to comment again, so they freak out because they're in there. But there are also people who are trying to ask us stuff, right? To try to ask us stuff and try to respond to the conversation and so on. And the comments, they're up here scrolling on this thing, so I can bring them in. They scroll so fast, even when I'm on slow mode, that I can barely catch ones. I see that you see me pulling up the super chats right now. That's because they immediately stand out. And I can pause on one. Other than that, we try to get to as many comments as possible. But I can't do that if I can't even see the comments. So the point is, if you're interested in sort of arguing back and forth to such an extent that you can't wait a certain amount of time before you post your next comment, there might be other platforms. There are probably other chats going on right now that would be better equipped for that. Right now gosh, we haven't even gotten to the sources. I had a bunch of sources pulled up. We're gonna go through some of the sources. Anyway, we'll get through. I actually want to go through this comment because I don't think we talk about this enough because I get asked this everywhere I go and speak. Every time I go out and speak, and pretty much every day someone sends me something like this. Every time I go to speak, someone comes up and asks me this.
Just a second, I have to read this out loud. Mrs. Apostate said, "Momo is slow-mo." I just had to laugh.
You need to divorce her immediately. Just say, talak, talak, talak. Divorce her for violating YouTube's trust and safe new community guidelines. That's horrible. That's horrible. What a horrible thing to say.
We will talk about this. We have to be respectful. Okay.
All right. So this, I think, is a totally underrated topic. You know what's sad, AP? I actually recorded a video on this almost 2 years ago with John and Vocab, where it's like John and Vocab are sort of role playing as a Muslim and a non-Muslim and so on, and we sort of go through easy steps for how to talk to a Muslim without driving them away or something like that. And by the way, guys, the reason this is relevant is here on YouTube we blast away at Muhammad, and I've had people contact me saying, "Hey, David, I met a Muslim in school, and I was about to start a normal conversation, but then I decided, no, I have to blast away at him and start telling him about Aisha and stuff like that." Guys, no, there are situations where you want to do something like that, right? If someone's being a jerk, by all means, go ahead and tell him all about his prophet. We're here on YouTube because when I post a video, you don't have to click on the video if you don't want to, right? But for people who are interested in that, they can click on it, right? If someone doesn't want to hear it, then they don't ever have to even go on my channel. So in a situation, if you're talking to a Muslim, I wouldn't recommend just like blasting away at them. Simply because, the main reason is I don't believe that's the most effective way of getting information across in a one-on-one situation. I believe there are more effective ways. So anyway, we made an entire, probably 25 to 30 minute is what it'll end up being, video. And the only reason I've never posted it is there are times that require voiceover, like me voice-overing points and so on, and I've just never sat down and recorded the voiceover. So I've been sitting on this video for like 2 years that is on this topic that I hear every single day. How do you get in a conversation with a Muslim without upsetting them? But AP, let's go ahead and have your thoughts, because I'm guessing, even though the old AP was a total jerk towards Muslims. I'm guessing that if you were sitting down, hanging out with a Muslim, you would not just be like blasting away with insults and stuff at his prophet.
Not immediately. I would first greet, and then I would start being complete. No, I'm actually never like that in person. People think that since I'm doing this huge thing online, that since I'm mocking and criticizing people's innocent religions and prophets, that I would also, of course, have an argument with every Muslim that I see. But I don't actually do that. I have quite a normal connection to Muslims. I still know many Muslims. I still have many friends who are Muslims, and of course relatives, parents who are Muslims. So I would also never suggest that if you want to actually have a conversation with Muslims about Islam, I would never ever suggest, if you are aiming to have a serious, a good consequence, a good result with these discussions, I would never ever suggest attacking them based on moral issues in Islam, or based on how Muhammad married a 9-year-old child or stuff like that. These are things that I would never initiate, never say first. If you really want to talk about them, I think the most efficient, most effective way of talking would be to approach them neutrally first, without making it too obvious that you want to destroy their religion. If that is your aim at all. And I had a different experience with women and with men. It was usually easier to talk to women about issues with Islam, because there are simply so many problems in Islam and regarding women. One of the things, for example, was the whole wife beating thing. I would whenever I would discuss, I I wouldn't directly attack it. I wouldn't directly say, hey, don't you realize that your religion is horrible? It says this and this and that. It orders violence or whatever. I would approach it by asking them why they believe in what they believe in, and get into a calm conversation about what they know about their religion. If they have read the Quran, if they have informed themselves further about Islamic sources, like have they read the Hadith, have they read the biographies of Muhammad? If they read the Quran, to ask them if they read it in a language that they understand and what they think of it. If they, to form some kind of empathy in your connection, in your dialogue with this person. Like you would obviously have to talk about how terrible the Quran is, but you can't say, did you realize that the Quran is very terrible when you read it? You could instead say what did you think about the Quran? Do you think that there are things in the Quran that you wouldn't necessarily agree with? And obviously, these things will open themselves up more and more when you talk this way, and then you could slowly approach the matter with moral issues, like the wife beating verse, for example, which is many people's favorite issue in the Quran, and talk about what they think of the issue, talk about how they interpret it, and whether they think it is compatible with their modern worldview, with the world that they have grown up in. Obviously, if you live close to these people, then they must be in an environment that usually, most likely, doesn't normalize the beating of women, for example. And the wife beating issue is only one example. There are so many issues that you could tackle in such a calm way, in a peaceful way, while always building on the feeling of empathy, because what people should know about Islam, what people should know about the Muslim community, is that Muslims learn from a very young age that non-Muslims don't like them, that non-Muslims hate Islam, that the rest of the world hates Islam, that everyone wants to destroy Islam, and that the outer world wants to see you suffer and all that stuff, all that nonsense. People actually believe that. Muslims actually believe that. I believed that. I grew up with that. Many Muslims, maybe most Muslims, believe that. So they are very careful in how you approach them. If you approach them with more empathy and try to put yourself more into their position and explore the content of Islam together, it might help. Otherwise, the default position is that you are an enemy of Islam, and that if you are a non-Muslim and you want to talk about Islam with them, you couldn't mean anything good by that. The Quran itself says that non-Muslims, the Christians and Jews, will never be satisfied with you unless you convert to their religion. That's what the Quran says. That's what Muslims teach their children. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I hope that was. That answers the question.
Yeah, what I normally tell people here. So here's the short answer. Questions, ladies and gentlemen. Start with questions, right? If you're talking to a Muslim, so and it looks like you're going to be talking to Muslims in your Arabic class. Start by asking them questions about what they believe, right? Because I mean, you know someone's a Muslim, you don't know if he's Sunni, Shia, and you don't, as a people, you don't know how well he's read. You don't know any of this stuff just by noticing his name or something like that, or noticing that he is some sort of Muslim. So start asking questions, not critical questions, just, what do you believe about Muhammad? What do you believe about the Quran? What do you believe about God? What do you believe about the Bible? What do you believe about Jesus? These kinds of things, right? And then you start to get an idea of what he believes. And notice those are all very non-threatening. I mean, think if you're a Christian, someone comes up to you and starts asking, hey, what do you believe about Jesus? You'd normally be thrilled, right? Well, guess what? Muslims are happy if someone's asking them questions about what they believe. We've been trained in the West to think, you don't bring these things up because, you don't talk about these things. Most Muslims would love to talk to you about their religion if they take it at all seriously, because, as AP points out, they've been trained to think that everyone is, attacking them, and they've been trained to think that people all have a distorted view of Islam that they got from the media and from terrorists and so on. And so they would love to tell you what they actually believe and so on. So I would just ask questions. It's awesome that you're in a class with them, because that means you're going to be seeing them regularly. So you're in a situation where you know you're gonna keep seeing them. So you can ask a question. What do you believe about this? What do you believe about this? What do you believe about that? Somewhere after going through a lot of these, what I would call what questions, what do you believe questions, I would eventually transition into some why questions. So why do you believe that about Muhammad? Why do you believe that about the Quran? Why do you believe that this is true? Why do you believe that about Jesus? Why do you believe that about the Bible? And you start getting this person's individual reasons for believing things. And since you're in a situation where you're going to be seeing them again, I wouldn't even go into anything critical in sort of a first or maybe even a second conversation. Once you've got the person to lay down his reasons for why he believes whatever it is he believes, then I would say, hey, you brought up, you said that the Quran is the only book that's been perfectly preserved from that long ago. I was wondering, would you mind if I looked into that and then got back to you if I have any questions? And then you'd probably be fine with that. And then you go back and read some actual articles and go through some of the sources on the actual history of the Quran. But notice, then when you go back, you're going to be challenging what he said and undermining his reasons. But even that you can do in a non-threatening fashion, right? You can say, instead of saying, hey, you told me that the Quran's been perfectly preserved, but right here it says that Aisha's sheep ate some verses. What's up with that, you liar? Right? You could come like that. Notice, you could come with the exact same information, but in a more non-threatening manner. You could say, hey, I was just wondering something. You were pointing out that the Quran's been perfectly preserved, but I was looking up some passages, and this right here says that 2 entire chapters came up missing because people weren't reciting them. That's in Sahih Muslim. This passage over here said that verses were lost when a sheep ate them. I was just wondering what do you mean by perfect preservation, and how do you think these things play into that? Something like so. You can put it like that in a non-offensive way, and then make sure he understands. Hey, he's not rushed, and say, hey, if you haven't read these, then by all means don't feel rushed. Go ahead and look into these if you want to talk to your mom or look up some responses or so on. But I'd be interested in getting your perspective on these things. Notice you just got the information into him that you wanted to get into him, but without making it so that he's not going to want to talk to you anymore. But also notice if you keep this up for a while, you can get all sorts of information across in a non-threatening manner, right? You could get absolutely brutal information across in a non-threatening manner. So you could go like this. I could walk up to a Muslim right now and go, there's this guy called the Apostate Prophet. He claims to be an ex-Muslim. Who knows, right? But he's making this video about Muhammad and Aisha, and he's saying this, and that about Muhammad and Aisha. He's laying down a lot of sources and laying down a lot of information, but I would actually be interested in seeing what you have to say in response. So could you go ahead and watch what he says here and then give me your response? And truthfully, I am interested in seeing what Muslims have to say about these issues. So you can be completely honest and say, here's what this guy is saying. I would like to see your response. And notice now you're not blasting or insulting, you're requesting another person's perspective. And the chances of that person giving you a response and him actually going through that video are much greater if you phrase it as a request for that person's perspective and information. So I would kind of go there.
Totally throw me under the bus and say, hey, this Apostate Prophet guy makes this video about Aisha, and I think he's a total jerk, but he put some sources out there, and I don't know, it makes me think. Do you want to look into that?
Yeah, you can do that with both of us, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. We're both totally comfortable with you walking up to people going, these scumbags on YouTube, David Wood and the Apostate Prophet. You should hear the things they say about your prophet. But
disgusting.
But they are putting out your sources, right? They are saying that this is in your sources. So I was wondering, do you have a response? Do you know of some good response to these horrible things these men are saying? So that's the way to go about it. And notice then just you just keep doing that, right? Like if I were to walk in and say, hey, you said the Quran's been perfectly preserved. What do you do with these 2 or 3 things? I would just pick 2 or 3 things, bring them up. And then whatever he says in response, oh, blah, 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 this sources are wrong. I would just, okay, I wouldn't even really argue it if it's a situation where I know, hey, I'm going to be able to talk to him next week and the next week and the next week. Probably wouldn't even really challenge him. I'd just thank him and so on. And then, the next week I'd come with something else. Hey, what do you said that Muhammad, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about this? Notice if you keep doing that, your main goal in a situation like that is to get information into their heads that they are not getting from their leaders, right? That they're not getting from their schools, that they're not getting from journalists, that they're not getting from Hollywood. There's all this information that's in the Muslim sources that they are never going to get because they do not read the sources themselves, and the people who do read their sources don't tell them. So there's all this information that calls into question and would raise doubts about so much of what they believe, but they never get exposed to it. Your goal should be to expose them to that, because that's when they can start doubting Islam. And they're not going to take anything else you say about Christianity or Jesus, the gospel. They're not going to take that seriously when they think that they have 100% proof that Islam is true. So you have to undermine that stuff as you go along. And with that said, even when you're talking about it's probably safer ground if you're in a conversation and he knows you're a Christian, even in this question mode. So you said that Jesus, was a prophet. Well, I'd be interested in what you think about what Jesus said here, right? That he's the final judge of all mankind, or that he's Lord of the Sabbath, or you could point out some of these things, right? And then at some point, there's so many things there where like Jesus repeatedly says he's going up to Jerusalem where he's going to be crucified and killed. So, hey, you said Jesus wasn't killed, but Jesus said he was going up to Jerusalem to be killed. So how do you interpret that? There's so much stuff in the Bible that they're going to have to say corrupted. And at that point you can, okay, thanks. So you believe the Bible's been corrupted. Wait a minute, right? So, and then the next time, I'm interested in what you'd have to say here, because the Quran says that the Torah and the gospel were revealed by Allah, but the Quran also says that no one can change Allah's words. It says that Christians have to judge by the gospel. It says that Christians still have the gospel. So how do you interpret these verses of the Quran? Guess what? He's never read them before. They were never brought up in his mosque. Yeah. He's never heard them. And now you're getting that information into his head. And so notice, if you just do that, wait a minute, here are the things that Jesus says in the gospel. They contradict Islam. And then you show him what the Quran says about the gospel, that it affirms it. You've just introduced him to all the basics of what we call the Islamic dilemma, right? That, hey, there are 2 possibilities here. Either Christians have the gospel or we don't have the gospel. If we have the gospel, Islam is false because Islam contradicts what we have. If we don't have the gospel, then Islam is false because Islam affirms that we have the gospel. So either way, Islam turns out to be false. You're getting all the information in that to build a case against Islam. And so, yeah, guys, just because you see us blasting away, which you won't see anymore. You're not going to see us blasting away anymore. We are much more friendly, Sharia compliant, YouTube community standards compliant people now.
Totally respectful people.
But yeah, just because you saw us in the past and we're blasting away at Islam, that is not how we would act in a one-on-one conversation, where there are much better ways. So guys, there are different situations that you're in. If you're writing something, that's a different situation from doing a YouTube video, which is a different situation from doing a lecture, which is a different situation from doing a debate, which is a different situation from speaking in a small group, which is a different situation from speaking at a Q&A in a mosque, which is a different situation from a one-on-one conversation. These are all different situations.
So basically, it's a different situation. So.
Different situations, and different situations require different methods as far as effective communication. All right. We're going to take some more comments. Have you seen some? I'm guessing you got some comments you'd like to address over there.
I actually don't.
Really?
I'm just reading. I'm reading through the chat, and I'm just enjoying it. People, I really enjoy the conversations here. I don't see many questions, actually. I don't know.
All right. Let's see. I got a couple here. So we got Love23D. Love23D said, "You are amazing," and then you got the this dancing, this cool dancing. I don't know what that is. Is that an invented creature or some sort of? It looks like a pear. Looks like a dancing pear. It's shaped like a pear. Anyway,
someone said AP should make a broom room.
broom room. Muhammad Hijab's broom room. It's messed up. Stop it. Guys, stop encouraging us. We're trying to reform our ways. We've seen the error of our ways, and we're reforming. Ben West, shout out for joining the Boom Squad. We're gonna start We're going to start doing some fun stuff here coming up with the Boom Squad. Karis said, "Hey guys, I have an Ahmadi buddy of mine. Which hadith or sources can I use to challenge his beliefs?" Well, just so you know, even most Sunnis don't consider Ahmadis Sunnis. Many of them don't consider them Muslims. Nabil actually sent me a study. It actually depends on the region. In areas where there are lots of Ahmadis, the Muslims in the area generally tend to think of them as Muslims who are just wrong on some issues, right? In areas where people aren't in contact with Ahmadis, then they tend to think of them as non-Muslims. But here's the thing. If you're talking to an Ahmadi, Ahmadis view themselves as Sunni Muslims, right? They view themselves as Sunni Muslims. So they believe in Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, the standard Sunni sources that we quote in our videos. They officially, at least, believe in those. However, other Muslims, your average Sunni Muslim, he's got a method, right? So you believe in the Quran, and then you believe what you find in the Hadith, as long as it passes certain criteria and it doesn't contradict the Quran, right? So that's the general methodology. With an Ahmadi, they also believe in authoritative religious leaders who get to interpret their sources for them, the most important being Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, right? So they believe that he is the official interpreter of the sources. So when you're reading a hadith, if it's something that that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's interpretation of the Quran would disagree with, then you're going to have an additional step. But notice, even in those situations, you show him something from Sahih Muslim, and if he says, "Oh, well, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad said that blah blah blah," and he disagrees with that, then you can raise the same point. So don't think, hey, if I quote a hadith and a Muslim rejects it, well, so much for that. No, if you quote a hadith in one of Islam's most trusted collections, and the Muslim says, "Oh, I don't trust that," well, great. They're the ones now calling into question their entire historical method, right? And so turn to that subject. Wait a minute. So Bukhari went through literally hundreds of thousands of hadiths to get to what he believed were the most authentic, 7,000 or so. He got to the most authentic. And you're saying even these are filled with false stories? Are you basically telling me that the first few generations of Muslims were the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen? Is that what you're telling me? And put it to them that way, because notice, who are the people preserving the Quran during this time? This same group of Muslims that Muslims today tell us were the biggest bunch of liars who ever walked the planet. Well, now, wait a minute. You're telling me they were faithfully preserving the Quran, but they were just massively lying about Muhammad the entire way? You serious? If a group that you are calling the biggest bunch of liars who've ever walked the planet walk up to you and say, "Here's our perfectly preserved book," are you joking? You're the biggest bunch of liars the world has ever seen, according to what my Muslim friends tell me today. So take it in. I'm taking that direction. You got anything on that, AP?
No, I think you said it perfectly. It's I don't know. The only thing that I always want to point out about Ahmadi Muslims is the irony in Ahmadi Muslims being so strident in their assertion that Islam was completely misunderstood. That the Islamic community, that Muslims around the world were completely misunderstood, that Islam is amazing and this and that. But then they come and approach us with a form of Islam that 99% of Muslims don't accept. And the vast majority of Muslims basically persecutes them for what they are and who they are. And on top of that, Ahmadiyya was a movement that basically came to end the world. It was an end of the world movement. And when was he alive?
He was end of the 1800s.
Yeah, 1800s to be specific. Yeah, he died like in 1800s. I don't know. Whatever. The most fundamental thing about Ahmadiyya is that the end time signs, the vast end time signs have happened. So according to Ahmadi Islam, the world should have actually ended. during his lifetime or immediately after his lifetime. So by the Ahmadi logic, we couldn't be alive right now. We couldn't be going on in this world right now. And that is a serious thing that Ahmadi Muslims should look into, considering that they make claims on the Messiah title, the Mahdi title, and so on. But I don't know. I would love to actually make an entire video about that, to lay that down with all its details.
Hey, if you really want to, my goodness, if you really want to read some stuff, read some Ahmadi books. I did, because when I was way back when I was friends with Nabil, and Nabil was never pushing Ahmadi stuff on me, right? He was just pushing that Muhammad was a prophet and that the Quran is the truth and Muhammad is the greatest man who ever lived and stuff. But I knew he's an Ahmadi, so I have a natural inclination, if I'm, I want to get to the bottom of what people believe if I'm having a discussion. So I started reading the Ahmadi books as well. And this was a long time ago, so this is almost 20 years ago, but I thought this was the stupidest stuff I'd ever read in my life. It was bad. I mean, the Mirza Ghulam Ahmed stuff was just filled with the boastful and my arguments are the only ones grounded in logic that no one can refute because of the utter brilliance and blah, blah, blah. It's the sort of stuff that for people who aren't able to follow arguments, they see someone boasting like that. I mean, we deal with this with the online internet Muslim apologists, right? That if they're boasting the loudest that they've refuted something, that their listeners aren't actually following the arguments or not paying attention. They just, this is the guy who's boasting most, so he must be right. It's like that, and then but like the points will be, so the points in these Ahmadi books will be like, Christians believe in the Trinity, but if the Trinity were true, planets would be shaped like triangles, not like spheres. The spheres show that they're created by someone who is absolutely one, and therefore the Islamic view is correct. But yeah, so the arguments would be, if the Trinity were true, planets would be triangles. And so it's just stuff like that, and yeah, they love it.
Okay.
A couple comments here. John V says, David Wood, are you familiar with Frank Turek? Of course, I'm friends with Frank Turek. You should collaborate with him. Oh, we're collaborating in ways that no one is aware of. I went and spoke at his CIA conference over the summer. That's not a conference for what we think of as the CIA. It's the Cross-Examined Instructor Academy. So we train people how to also go out and be apologists. So I was one of the speakers there. But even more important than that, Jorge is the guy who does the online social media stuff for Frank Turek, and we're actually meeting with a bunch of Christian apologists who are online in early February, and let's just say we're taking things to whole new levels, but should be interesting. But yeah, great. Tech9 Holder says, D Wood, how's your scar? Well, I don't know. You can. Is that right here? So right there. Not terrible. Looks like it's healing up. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what that's about, they had skin cancer, so they chopped it out.
I should debate Frank Turek.
Oh, here
together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll. Yeah.
Hey.
All against me.
Hey. We should debate, but I'll give like the most horrible arguments ever, and then like you'll become a hero of atheists, right? You'll become a hero of atheists around the world. He destroyed David Wood. But then later you'll convert to Christianity and you'll take all those atheists with you. That'd be awesome.
Okay. And in the end I'll convert to Islam.
Yeah. Along those lines, D to the Will says, hey, David and AP. I'm bringing this up because I hadn't thought of this, but this is actually cool. I mean, I thought at the EPS conference, I'm definitely going, but hadn't thought of you going. This is actually cool. So he says, hey, David and AP, are you guys going to be at the ETS conference next year in Rhode Island? And he mentions it's on Christianity and Islam. So that's why you might actually want to go, AP. Every year, basically it's a Christian theological society and a Christian philosophical society, but it's scholars. They get together and deliver papers on some topic. Like this year was the topic this year that we just had was Christ in all Scripture and so on. But it can be different situations, and it'll be a different sort of theme each year. But next year, 2020, the theme is Christianity and Islam. So there are going to be tons of papers on Islam. And I know since you deal with a lot of topics where you're dealing with problems with Islam that are actually because of Islam's problems with something it says about prophets or something like that in the Bible, you might want to go. So just so you know, we usually,
would be amazing.
We'll rent a big Airbnb house with like 5 or 6 rooms. So I will cover your costs, AP, if you want to come to that. But what's cool is you have these guys at different academics at different schools and stuff, and a lot of them will just bring stuff you've never heard before because it's based on like the cutting edge stuff that they're dealing with in their field. So, but it's cool because you'll get a big schedule and it'll say the names of it'll say the topics of all the presentations, and there will be probably between 1,000 and 2,000 presentations and stuff like that, and you can sort of pick the ones you want to go to, and you go to those. And when you're not going to one of those, you just hang out with cool people. Anyway,
that would be awesome. Yep. Actually, I would be interested in that. I deal a lot with topics that are about the Bible and the Quran, about the prophets and Muhammad. Generally, Abrahamic religion and Islam. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things that I went into recently was whether Allah and the Abrahamic God are the same God or not. Mm-hmm. So it's actually something I would totally enjoy. Yeah, Let's do it.
All right, we are there. So those of you who are going to EPS and ETS next year in Rhode Island. I don't know why they picked that place up there. I'm good with the cold, but lots of other people don't like the cold, and they always have it in November. And then a lot of people don't like the road. People who don't like the cold don't like the Rhode Island setting. But you're a little up north, so you're good to go.
Yeah, I would like that.
Oh, it'll be fun. Just so you know, me, Vocab, John. Oh, we could record stuff over there.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, me, Vocab, John McCrae, bunch of guys. Yeah. All right. Well, we can actually. We have over 1,000. All right, guys. I'm still not even halfway through the comments.
My name is not Mehmet, dear Johan Smith. That's not my name.
Hey, AP, you've already answered this a ton of times on different live streams and on your channel. But go ahead and answer this one again. AP, have you considered Christianity? Maybe. I've heard your responses like 20 times, but go ahead.
I actually have. I think the answer that I would give right now at this phase would be so long we wouldn't have enough time for that. But I'm going to talk about that quite soon. I did consider Christianity in the past. I considered it after I left Islam. I considered it while I was leaving Islam, while I was in my major, chaos with Islam. I considered it after I left Islam. I studied it, thought it through, and even after that, I think I went through a phase at some point, which was not too long ago, where kind of mental breakdowns and things like that were quite prominent with me, and I started thinking about Christianity and the Christian perception of God, and how good it'd be if that was true, and if I believed in it, and if I found comfort in it, because I thought that believing in God would give me the assistance, the comfort that I would need to cope with the problems that I had after leaving Islam, especially the problems of facing life without the assistance of religion, which is something I definitely want to talk about soon. But in short, I did consider Christianity. I studied it, but eventually I concluded that I cannot believe in it. People who know me and my stance on religion know that I don't have anything against religion. I sympathize with religion. I don't consider religion bad or an evil thing, as many atheists do, and I am an atheist myself. So I sympathize with certain aspects of Christianity too, but I don't believe it. I can't find myself believing in it because I have very solid reasons why I don't believe in God, and I will present that quite soon, and we might even have a debate about that with David.
Yeah,
here.
I don't know about the very solid part. I'll say you have. I'm sure you have reasons. The solidity or lack thereof is what remains open to investigation.
We'll see that. Yeah. But yeah, that was basically the thing. I mean, even at times where I thought Christianity is awesome and great, I thought so. At times, really, I still thought, what is the point of being part of it if I genuinely cannot believe in it? Wouldn't I be a hypocrite if I started identifying with it while I cannot believe in it? So I really tried very hard to find out if I can believe in it or not, but eventually I concluded that it doesn't work, and that's where I am. Mm-hmm. Hope that answers the question.
Hope that answers the question. It's been asked several times, even in this, even during this live stream. I haven't been following this conversation here, but I just saw a comment here. Nuxa's responding to Waleed, says, actually, I'm pretty sure that Allah does have a spirit. I'm going to ask AP and David. Yes, Allah has a spirit. If Waleed is telling you that Allah doesn't have a spirit, then well, matter of fact, hang on. 1 second. I'll pull up a couple. So, I mean, tons of infinite array of passages here in the Quran on this, but chapter 38, verse 72, when I have fashioned him in due proportion and breathed into him of my spirit. Surah 15, verse 29, when I have fashioned him in due proportion and breathed into him of my spirit. Surah 21, verse 91, remember her who guarded her chastity, we breathed into her of our spirit. 66:12, and Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, and we breathed into her of our spirit. So, yeah, Allah definitely has a spirit that he breathes out. Interestingly, that spirit can take on a human form. The spirit is breathed out by Allah and thus originates from within Allah and is therefore distinct from mere created beings, right? So Allah speaks and something comes into existence, but Allah breathes out his spirit and breathes his spirit into other things. But the spirit actually takes on the form of a man, so much so that when Mary saw the spirit in a human form, she starts worrying that some guys here are about to rape her, right? So the spirit is a conscious, active agent. The spirit is a person, and yet the spirit is breathed out by Allah. So definitely, if Waleed doesn't know that Allah has a spirit, then Waleed's got a problem. Now, what he might be thinking is that most Muslims now interpret the spirit to be the angel Gabriel. That's just a bigger problem. I mean, one, according to the Quran, the Quran doesn't say that the spirit is the angel Gabriel. The Quran draws a distinction between the angels and the spirit. But grant it, go ahead and grant it, because that's what you find in the hadith. Go ahead and grant that the spirit is the angel Gabriel. So let me get this straight. All other angels, God simply says be, and they come into existence. But the one angel, the angel Gabriel, Allah actually breathes out from within himself. So notice you have Allah's eternal speech, which he's speaking out from all eternity, and his speech is co-eternal with him. But as we read in the Muslim sources, Allah's speech, the Quran, also appears as a living person at the judgment to testify on behalf of Muslims. So Allah breathes out his spirit. The spirit can appear in human form. Allah breathes out or speaks out his word, and his word appears in human form. So you have these conscious personal beings who nevertheless originate from within Allah, and so are different from all of creation. So, yeah, you've got, and by the way, guys, notice the parallel, right? You've got Allah, Allah's eternal word, and Allah's eternal spirit. And the eternal word can actually appear in human form. You guys seen this? And actually, the Quran appears in physical form as a book. And even though it's the eternal speech of Allah, it appears in our world in a physical form. And while it's in the physical form, it has two natures. It has a physical nature, and then it has its divine nature. Do you see why, we can say that Islam is like a cheap copy of Christian and Jewish doctrines, but just doesn't realize it? And then Muslims, they just ignore this, right? Like Christians read the Bible and they say, wait a minute, we got a problem here, because we've got God, and we've got God the Father, but we also have Jesus, and he's claiming to be some sort of eternal son, and he's claiming the nature and attributes of God, but then we have the Spirit who also has the nature and attributes of God, and yet there's this constant affirmation that there's only one God. We need something to make sense of this. Muslims have the similar things in their revelations. They just ignore them, right? They don't sit down and say, hey, we need to iron this out and come up with a doctrine that fits all of this. They say, nope, we want to cling to this absolute oneness thing. And so all of this other stuff about the Spirit being breathed out by Allah, we need to ignore that. All these things about, the Spirit giving life, we need to do away with all that. All this stuff about Jesus being the Word of Allah, when the Word of Allah is eternal, and Jesus being a spirit from Allah. All these things about Jesus, and we'll just ignore all these. We'll just pretend this is absolute oneness, ladies and gentlemen, absolute oneness. And so, yeah. Anyway, hope that answered your question there.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments? We should probably wrap up here in a few minutes. Oh, wait. So now it's funny. I just saw the comment by Nuxa where Nuxa was responding to a lead, but then Nuxa actually put it in a super chat here. So yeah, the answer, Nuxa, yes, Allah does have a spirit. And if you want a ton of the verses, just go to a searchable Quran, look up spirit, and you'll see a ton of passages with Allah having a spirit. So that's indisputable.
I just see a lot of comments about my Christianity and atheism and all that stuff. That's what I said. That's why I meant. That's why I said that answering the question would take forever. We wouldn't have enough time for that. Yeah. So it really is a very very long thing. I didn't just in one day conclude that I don't believe in this. This happened over years of thought processes, and I spent a lot of time in my head thinking things through. So this really happened over very, very long thought processes. I wouldn't be able to put them down here. But if anyone is genuinely interested in that, I see many comments about why I don't believe, and if I don't think that atheism requires even more faith. I would love to answer those questions at some point, actually quite soon. I'm thinking of doing that within the next few weeks, because I think the question finally needs to be answered, because so many people ask me about that. Yep.
Waleed here. This is something I want to make. I want to make a video out of, because I want to call it something like fake. I'm not sure what to call it. I mean, it's a version of the straw man, right? But look at Waleed here. Yea, so Allah is able to do all things, even create a human in a woman without a father. If you say that's why he is God, because he has no father, then Adam is a bigger God according to you. What? I've never in my life met a Christian say Jesus is God because he had no human father. I've never met that. Half of the Muslims I talk about the deity of Christ with say that that's what our argument is. I've never met a Christian in my entire life. I've never read an apologetics book that claimed that. I've never seen anything like that. Half of the Muslims I talk to say, aha, well, you're saying that Jesus is God because he had no human father. So, Adam had no human father. I've refuted an argument that you have never once used in your entire life, and you've never even heard anyone. Why do Muslims need to make up fake arguments and then respond? That's called a straw man in logic, right? You don't attack your opponent's actual position. You don't attack that. You make up something that he didn't claim, but you make it up, and then you attack that and claim to refute it. Where did you get that? You got that from your apologists. Why do your apologists make things up and then attack those? We believe Jesus is God because he claimed in a variety of ways to be God, and because the Old Testament prophesied that someone would be born who would be God. Jesus claimed to be that person, and he rose from the dead, confirming his claims. That's why we believe it. That's why we believe it. It's never occurred to me to say, well, Jesus didn't have a human father. He must be God, right? Because, yes, the same objection that objection would apply. Fortunately, I've never met a Christian so incredibly dumb to say what you've said. Huh? Guys, AP, you have to take over real quick.
Okay.
Got a little emergency.
Okay, go.
Answer questions.
Okay. Yeah. Well, David told me earlier that his wife was supposed to be out at this time, and he didn't know that. He kind of forgot that was supposed to happen this night. So he told me that at any point he might have to get up and leave and take care of the kids if they have a medical situation. So that just happened. Here I am. That was totally unexpected. I was just reading about all kinds of stuff. Well, okay, let me answer the questions. Najim A said, AP, when is your debate with Ahmed Man? What do you mean with Nadir Ahmed? I have a debate with him on December 22nd. That is in almost 2 weeks. Oh, that is Sunday, next Sunday. Not this Sunday, either Sunday. I will have a debate with Nadir Ahmed on December 22nd. It will be about the scientific mistakes of the Quran, because I made a big project regarding the scientific mistakes, and Nadir Ahmed came out and asserted in public that he could debunk my scientific mistakes. We had a kind of a back and forth. I said I'm really not interested in debating Muslim apologists. I really don't care about how that appears. But he was quite he insisted on it very much. He also stayed respectful. So I thought, come on, let's have a debate. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, we'll have a debate on December 22nd. It will be on Aaron Ra's channel, who I know is very popular among Christians. Christians love Aaron Ra, and. Sorry. Yeah, the debate will be there. It will be hosted by him and moderated by him, because he had Nadir Ahmed on very many times. He hosted me too, so we could have a conversation all together. So we decided we'll just make him our host and moderator. It will be live on December 22nd. I don't remember what time. I'm actually not sure about the time right now. Anyways, quickly back to David. David is... many of you probably know that David's kids have medical conditions that need constant attention. So someone always needs to be there to take care of his kids, to take care of their heart rate, of everything that is going on. So right now he was just told that our heart rate is declining, which is why he needed to quickly get up and go there and take care of the situation. And as far as I know and believe, this is a normal situation that is always happening. And he told me, I said from the very beginning, that he needed to possibly get up and take care of the kids. So nothing to worry. I'm sure he'll be right back in any moment now. Crayola Blue said, do you have a dog? Yes, I do have a dog. I have a very sweet dog, Labradoodle. Let me see. Any topical questions? Just kidding. Okay. Rimon the Swagger Husky made a super chat and said, Apostate Prophet, Nadir Ahmed is a charlatan, so why debate him? To be very honest, I knew how Nadir Ahmed debates. I know the stuff that he does before and after a debate to his opponents. He wasn't necessarily very nice with me when he first asked me for a debate. He basically said I was running from him and all that stuff, and I didn't even know who he is, which is quite hilarious. I didn't know that he went very dirty with David after they had a debate. He apparently told David that I don't know, that David had ill children because of his opposition to Islam and stuff like that. Stuff that you just cannot say. That was very dirty, very disgusting. I accepted his debate offer in good faith, considering that he was respectful and that he might be respectful with me during the debate and after the debate. I'm not sure how it will go, but I will, for the time being, just honor the agreement to have a debate. And I will be respectful, expect him to be respectful. If he's not respectful, I will probably lose my respect too. I don't know. The Iron Sheikh, debate Mohammed Hijab in a cage. Mohammed Hijab is a very interesting individual. I would never debate a personality like him. I really don't care about debating Muslim apologists. I said from the very beginning that I don't care about Muslim apologists at all, that I don't legitimize them, that I don't consider them defenders of Islam, that I don't think that it adds anything positive or negative to me at my cause to actually have a debate with them, because I don't think that their position matters. Muslim apologists are there to defend Islam, to prove that Islam is morally amazing and true no matter what. And considering that according to the worldview they preach, everything about Islam is entirely perfect, it can simply not be that I would need to get past them in order to prove that there is something wrong with Islam. I don't legitimize Muslim apologists, and I really don't care about some jerk like Mohammed Hijab. SD Rapper said, "Did your dog come with a purse?" That is a reference to David, who, when I told him that I have a Labradoodle, he said, "Does it come with a purse?" David is a hilarious individual, not only here online, not only on live streams. He's also very, very funny in person. He makes it his mission to mock everyone. So he will basically make fun of you if you are his friend all the time. Whenever he finds the opportunity, he will make fun of how people are younger than him. He will call them 12-year-olds and kids and stuff like that. That's how he is. So it's really a very interesting friendship to have with David Wood. It's interesting. Cruz 8R said, "AP, it's a trap. Muslims never come into their agreement." I know. I wouldn't say never, but I know that something might go wrong with that agreement. But it will be okay. Oh, David, you're back. Everything okay?
Let me see how to get myself back up on the screen. Yeah. Oh, I mentioned to AP before we started. Scheduled this live stream. Didn't realize my wife was out with her sister. So we have two disabled sons who are downstairs. I have my son down there, but he's supposed to come back and get me if something is going wrong, which it was. So went down there, took care of the problem, done it 100,000 times.
Good. It's good. So everything is okay. People were kind of worried a little bit.
Oh, they're worried? No. Basically, yeah, my two of my sons have a rare muscle disease. Their muscles don't work, so they even like swallowing. So basically, saliva will run right down their throat and go into their lungs. Well, you have to suction that out. So you have to suction that out pretty regularly and so on. So normally, lots of times they'll be fine for several hours. Sometimes they're not. So had to run down there, and you can see because there's an alarm that's telling you the oxygen level. That oxygen level will start dropping down if there's a problem in their lungs. So just go down, suction them all, then they're good. So
good.
That's
awesome.
Life. All right, what were you guys talking about up here?
I don't know. I was just answering questions. I was talking about.
Oh, I was responding. I was responding to this fake argument. All right. So, let me add just one thing on this fake argument.
Okay.
Here's the thing, Waleed, because you guys don't seem to get it. You believe Jesus was born of a virgin, and your response is, but Adam was born without a father or mother, and Eve was born without a father or mother. So are they gods? No. Look, you need to understand here. When God is creating Adam, there are no other human beings. So the only way God can create him is to just create him. right? That's the only way. There is no natural human succession going on until God creates Adam. So God creates Adam. Then, after God creates Adam, if he wants to create Eve, he has two options: create Eve completely independently or create Eve from Adam, right? Those are the only two possibilities. Those are the only ways of doing things. So God creates Eve from Adam. Notice, after that, you have Adam and Eve, and you have human beings who are born via human reproduction. So Adam was created in a certain way because that was the only way to create him. Eve was created in a certain way because that was only one of two ways to create her. Then you get to Jesus, right? Then you get to Jesus, and Jesus is completely different. The real question should be, why is Jesus so radically different in Islam? We, in Christianity, we understand why Jesus would have a miraculous birth, why Jesus would be born without a human father. We have a reason for that. What's your reason? Why did Allah do that? Why did Allah do that with Jesus? So the point is, even according to Islam, Jesus is completely different from everyone, including different from Adam and Eve, right? God created Adam and Eve in a certain way because those were the only ways to create them. You're telling us that Jesus is just a mere creation of Allah. Why did God choose him, of all people, to create in a completely different fashion? There was already a normal biological way of reproduction. Allah jumps in there and says, not this guy. This guy's going to be completely different. I'm marking this guy as completely different from everyone else, and gives him a completely different birth. Why is that? What are you going to say? Oh, Allah knows best. Wait, that's what you're going to say. But notice how interesting that is, right? With respect to his biological nature, Jesus has a mother, but no father. With respect to his divine nature, Jesus has a father, an eternal father, but no mother, right? Start thinking about these things instead of just mindlessly accepting them and then mindlessly repeating arguments that no one ever offered. All right, AP, what are we talking about now? We should probably wrap up. We definitely want to wrap up by 20 minutes, within the next 20 minutes or so. So we're off by 10.
Let's wrap up right now. I think it would be better for you to get back.
Oh, I'm good. They're good down there.
Yeah.
They're good.
We always say we're going to do an hour, and now it's going to be 2 hours again.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a reason for that. I'm much more likely to watch someone's live stream later if it's an hour than if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
But so I think it's kind of a more watchable situation later.
Yeah. We had almost 3 hours on my channel last week. That was...
Yeah. Yep. Here you go. Because Aries said, who is Mrs. Apostate, and Mrs. Apostate said, I am AP's wife.
Oh yeah, she's my wife. She's my proud wife. I'm proud of having her as a whatever. You get it. She's my wife.
So on the wife issue, like, people always ask me, David, what's your wife think about with all these death threats you're getting all the time? I'm like, I don't know. My wife's pretty cool with it. I'm guessing Mrs. Apostate's pretty cool with what you do.
She is. Well, she's
okay.
She likes very much what I'm doing. She was very supportive from the very beginning. She always thought from the very beginning that it was great to do what I'm doing, that it would be goodness, that it would help people. She repeatedly tells me, she motivates me, like basically so often, so many times during a day or a week, tells me that she loves what I'm doing, that she thinks that this is amazing, that she loves how many people this helps, and all that stuff. So she absolutely has no problem with it. She totally supports it, and that's great.
No, it's cool. It's cool that we have when we have wives who are totally supportive of what we do. Nabil, I remember way back in the day, so before he ever got married to Michelle, he had to sort of sit her down and say, you understand that, there are people who say they're going to kill me, and that one of them might do it one day, and that so you're kind of you'll be in that situation if we actually get married. And she responded, what are you talking about? I'd be honored if my husband were killed for preaching to Muslims, right? So that's so notice that's a cool attitude to have, right? Yeah. It's like, yes, we're in danger, but we're in danger for doing something good. So what the heck?
Yeah.
All right. Any last? Cordy here said, when are you bringing Islam Critiqued to interview? Actually, just talked to Islam Critiqued. Asked him when he wants to do a live stream. Says he does want to do a live stream, but is kind of busy during the month of December. So after the new year, I'll have Islam Critiqued on here. What are you laughing at? You laughing at a comment?
Yeah, I'm laughing at my wife's comment. She said, I told AP that he was a prophet just as Khadija told Muhammad. It's actually true. She told me that too. She kind of gave me the idea to start all of this from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
AP started running around. I'm hearing voices. Cover me. And Mrs. Apostate said, no, you're a prophet, an apostate prophet. You should start a YouTube channel. That's actually good. You should make a video like that, dude. You should make a video about the origin of the Apostate Prophet's channel and have it like a total parallel. You're like in a cave chilling. I don't know what to do. And then you think they're like a demon attacking you and stuff. And
I didn't even notice until now that I have that in common with Muhammad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's why
She didn't tell me to start the YouTube channel. She told me to start just speaking about this in public. So I started on Instagram first, and the thing on Instagram blew up so much, and I think she motivated me further to also talk further on YouTube about this. And I thought from the beginning that would be awesome because I can say so much more on YouTube compared to Instagram. I'm meanwhile banned on Instagram, so that's long in the past.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, we're might be banned on YouTube as well. That's why we keep trying to make sure that we are totally Sharia compliant, head to toe Sharia compliant, head to toe halal.
We respect terrible cultures, and we respect complete moral wickedness as well. We respect evil, and we respect different cultures. So I don't think YouTube would have a problem with us. So.
Yeah, look, we keep planning to go through sources and stuff on here, but then we just get on here and then taking comments, which is cool because we're happy to answer the comments. Eric said, David, what is breastfeeding an adult in Islam? I don't know if you weren't following earlier, but yeah, we talked about that. In short, breastfeeding an adult is what you do if a woman is going to be around a man. And by the way, do you remember several years ago when that became like an Egyptian scholar claimed that women who work around men have to breastfeed them, and then he got in trouble for it? And everyone's saying, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. It's like, what do you mean? That's what Muhammad said. But this was in Egypt, maybe, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, something like that. An Egyptian scholar came out and said, hey, if you're working with a man at your job, like you're working at, whatever it is, let's say McDonald's or something like that, you're working beside a man, in order to make sure that you guys don't don't commit fornication or something, you have to breastfeed the man 10 times. And everyone flipped out and jumped all over him. And people who actually knew what's in the Muslim sources were like, nah, that's what the Muslim sources say. But the idea here is if a man is going to be around a woman and they need to make sure that they don't fall into temptation and commit fornication or adultery, the solution that came from the great God Allah to Muhammad and was originally in the Quran until Aisha, who had the only copy, made sure that her sheep ate it. The claim was that in order to keep a man and a woman from committing some sort of sexual sin, the woman should breastfeed the grown man 10 times, and that way she'll be his foster mother, and he won't want to have sex with her. So, by the way, if that's all we knew about Islam, if that is the only revelation we knew about Islam, I think that would be enough.
That would be awesome.
that would be all of it. Butterside Zero said, David, how about Muhammad meets Jesus? We're going to have Muhammad meets Jesus, but it's going to be different from the Boom Boom Room. We've been planning it for a long time. We've never actually got together and do it because I've been planning to do it after 50 episodes of the Boom Boom Room. So after 50 episodes of the Boom Boom Room, there's going to be Jesus versus Muhammad, but it's going to be like epic rap battles of history. And it's going to be Jesus versus Muhammad. And, Libertas et Veritas said, AP, I kiss your eyes, brother. And, but he's got the little Muhammad emoji. Libertas, I'm guessing you copied that off the screen. I actually have much higher resolution versions of that. If you want one, send me a message. I'll send you a higher resolution if you wanna make it bigger, because the ones that are in the emojis are sort of low resolution. But I have full resolution pictures.
I see it now. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm still barely halfway through. Oh, I wanted to actually address this one. This one's good. Swagger Husky said, Muslims always use Deuteronomy 18:15-18 to prove Muhammad, but the same book said that Israelites would not appoint a king who was not one of them. See Deuteronomy 17:15. There are a ton of problems with this. You see some problems with this?
What I think about, I just looked into it recently. I was actually writing something about that and kept it for later publishing. But the same chapter says at the end of exactly that section that they cite. What is it? I don't know which part it is. But further on, just a few verses later, it actually gives the Jews the instruction to, if they encounter a false prophet who assumes to speak in the name of the Lord and does not, that they should reject him and possibly put him to death, which is very funny, because by the standards of that exact book, the Jews should have put Muhammad to death if they had the authority, if they had the power to. By all requirements, by all standards of that same book, they should have put him to death. And the funny thing is that the Quran also repeatedly accuses the Jews of being killers, of killing their prophets. Repeatedly, it does the same thing, like they killed this and they killed that and they killed him and him. Obviously, because Muhammad was afraid of being killed by the Jews, which is why he was so paranoid and why he got rid of all of them in Medina. Which is interesting, because that exact Deuteronomy book also tells Jews that they should be doing that they should be putting those to death who preach in the name of God, but yet they don't preach in the name of God. And by their standards, Muhammad was obviously a good example for that, because it also says that you can understand if someone is a false prophet by looking at his prophecies and seeing that a prophecy that he makes does not come true. By Jewish standards, there were lots of prophecies that Muhammad made during his lifetime and after his lifetime that have not come true. But so they should have put him to death. So that Bible verse completely it doesn't legitimize their point at all. It doesn't legitimize Muhammad at all. It is a shot in the own foot for Islam, for Muslims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and First Last put the verse up here on the screen. Says, but the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And I pointed out in the past that this is very interesting, because according to Muslim sources, and I have about 50 of them on this, Muhammad did both when he delivered the satanic verses. So notice the story of the satanic verses is that Muhammad was really upset that his tribe wasn't converting to Islam. So he was longing for a revelation that would help his tribe convert to Islam. So eventually the revelation came when he was receiving revelations of the Quran, and the revelations that he received during this time were, have you not heard of Alat, Alusa, and Manat, the third, the other? These are the exalted cranes or birds whose intercession is to be hoped for. So in other words, they're the goddesses, Alat, Alusa, and Manat, that Muhammad's tribe believed in. These goddesses were like birds who would carry your prayers to Allah. So you're not treating them as the main God, you're treating them as intercessors. You're treating them as intercessors. You can pray to them, but they'll carry your prayers up to Allah. And so Muhammad received this revelation. He bowed down in honor of it, and his followers bowed down as well. But then the pagans bowed down as well, because they were happy that Muhammad was supporting their goddesses. So that was all fine and well until a little later Muhammad came back and said, sorry guys, the devil tricked me into doing that. Now, this was one of the most embarrassing incidents in Islamic history. Basically, for the first 2 centuries of Islam, everyone grants that this happened. And then after that, Muslims solidified a doctrine about God's protecting of the prophets. Whereas for the first 2 centuries of Islam, the view on God's protection of the prophets was that God's going to protect them from persisting in error. In other words, if they fall into error, God's going to bring them out of it. The doctrine changed to that God's going to protect them from any sort of major error. He's not going to allow it to happen. So once the doctrine changed, Muslims rewrote their history and threw out the story. But we know from a historical perspective, that's as good as gold, right? The principle of embarrassment in history is that if people are inventing something about someone, they're going to invent something positive or something neutral that helps them make some other point. Muslims are not going to invent a story about their prophet delivering a revelation from the devil, right? There's no point in doing that. And you certainly wouldn't have tons of Muslims inventing similar stories about that. The point is the only way this is in the earliest Muslim sources is that's true. It happened. It happened and Muslims knew it happened, right? But notice what you had there. Muhammad delivered a revelation that didn't come from God, and he spoke in the name of other gods. He promoted polytheism. What does Deuteronomy 18:20 say? But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak. So if you say something came from God and it didn't come from God, or if you speak it in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. So this is just amazing, because this is the main Islamic prophecy from the Old Testament. Deuteronomy 18, verse 18. Some Muslims, when they're quoting it, will quote all the way to verse 19, but they don't quote verse 20. Why? Because according to verse 20, Muhammad's a false prophet who would have been stoned to death. Yeah. So it's just amazing that the main prophecy they go to show that Muhammad, and why do they do this? They do this because according to the Quran, Muhammad is prophesied in the Torah and the Gospel. So they have to find something in the Torah and the Gospel to show that Muhammad's a prophet. The best case they've been able to come up with after 14 centuries of looking is Deuteronomy 18:18. And just 2 verses later, we find out that Moses would have stoned Muhammad to death as the most obvious false prophet in history. And that's their best. So their best case is one where if you can just keep reading 2 more verses, you find out that Muhammad would have been stoned to death. This is Islam.
Yep.
All right, what do we got? A couple minutes. Any last minute comments?
No. Someone said Faye Qureshi said, AP, what's your favorite verse from the Quran? But I have so many favorite verses. I don't really know which one.
Yo! You should make a video titled "My Favorite Quran Verse" because I made one like that. It did well. I still get lots of views from it years later.
Oh, yeah. I should do that.
Those would actually feed off each other. In other words, when mine's up, when someone's watching mine, yours will pop up as a suggested video, and when yours is up, mine will pop up as a suggested video.
I should do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I think I said my favorite Quran verse is
you said the
Surah 33. Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's funny because when I did it, I gave a ton of extra information, right? So I was like, you may think that my favorite verse is, and then I talked about a bunch of other stuff, or you may think it's, and then I go into other stuff. But no, my favorite verse is from Surah 33. You know, the chapter where 2/3 of it came up missing. This is the same chapter where you have, the Zainab story and stuff like that, and Muhammad saying that he's the one who's allowed to have, more wives than all his followers. So just giving constant information, extra information in there. But
I think the Quran verse that I most reference is 9:29. I think that's the verse that I use the most.
Which one?
Chapter 9, verse 29. The one about the jizya, about fighting.
It's certainly an important one.
Disbelievers.
That's one of the ones I quote most frequently as well. That's the one where I made a video years ago called three Quran verses every Christian should know. That's probably like my number 2 or number 3 all time top video. For some reason, it took me almost no time to make. I just jotted down 3 verses and made the video and got like 2 million views or something like that. But yeah, 9:29 is one of the 3 verses I tell Christians that, look, you all need to know this.
That does not happen. That happened to me about my with my Kaaba video. I do this thing sometimes. Honestly, everybody, what goes on here behind the screen is really weird. I put so much effort, so much research, so much time into a project, and I think, wow, this is amazing. I'm gonna finish this and publish this, and then I put it out there, and it's like, it doesn't get very much attention, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
I thought this was important, and then I make a different video, like my most popular video, which currently has 870,000 views or so, which is about the Kaaba. And I remember that day, I was just sitting there and I thought, okay, I have to publish a video, but I really don't know which one I want to talk about right now. I'm just going to talk about this. So I just started writing stuff down and just speaking kind of freely, made some stupid jokes at the beginning, published it, and suddenly, boom, most popular video. It's still being watched like crazy. I have no idea how that happened.
Yeah, that is something. Probably all YouTubers experience that. I know I've seen Steven Crowder comment on that, where he said, "We would spend 2 weeks working on a video and no one would watch it," and stuff like that. But I've had that experience where that 3 Quran verses every Christian needs to know. I was on my way back from Manhattan to the Bronx on the subway, and I was like, "Gosh, I need to make a video today." It's got to be something quick and easy. What do people click on? They click on something like 3 something. You need to something, right? And so I was all right, 3 Quran verses every Christian should know. And so I just jotted down the Quran verses. I went in there, I recorded, I posted it. The sound is not great. The video quality is not great. And then millions of people watch it. And then other videos, I will spend years working on. And it's not like I do nothing but work on the video for years. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'll come up with an idea, but then I don't make it. And then like 3 or 4 months later, I'll think of something cool that would work in that video. And then, another 3 months goes by and I'm like, oh, I just came up with an awesome source that would fit in there. And so I'll piece this thing together over years. And then I'll work on putting everything together and the graphics together. And so I finally put it all together and then flop. And so it's just, that's YouTube for you. Yeah, fortunately, it's all coming to an end because we've got so much hate speech on our channels.
And we are now better people. We are respectful. The Holy Sword of Light said, AP and David live in the same apartment and they Skype each other on live stream. That's what we actually do. We moved together. I moved into to David's family home. So when we're done here, we still talk like for 5 minutes on Skype. Say, hey, so this that whatever, and then we're like, so good night, see ya.
Ali Dawa's next video: David Wood and Apostate Prophet admit they live together.
Yeah.
And AP supports incest. Oh, hey, actually, invitation. Guys, just so you know, I've been telling AP. He said he's interested in moving at some point. I said, hey, you move anywhere near me, we'll just go live every night. We'll just go live every night, side by side. I'll build a little studio and we'll just go live every night and start taking calls. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up right now. You still got people talking about you here. I hope AP finds Jesus and he will be able to say it is well with my soul. Well, guys, whether you're atheist or Christian or Muslim, if you're a Muslim, you should be afraid no matter what AP does, because atheist AP is obviously going to be coming after your prophet. Christian AP would be coming after your prophet. Either way, AP's coming after your prophet. If you're an atheist, then I don't know why you'd care much unless you think like AP is going to become a Christian, then he's going to like destroy science and stuff like that. He's going to destroy science or something like that. But you Christians who are watching, you should be thinking, wow, isn't it interesting that all of AP's friends are like Christians now? AP's hanging out with all these Christians. You're a Christian. If you're a Christian who believe God works in mysterious ways, you should be thinking, oh, AP studied a little bit, but then God surrounded him with all these awesome Christians. So,
I actually find it to be serious, I don't know how serious I can be, but uh, no, I find it very ideal actually. What's going on here, that we can sit together and have these conversations, that we can have a valued friendship and a collaboration and all that stuff. Because this is how I always viewed it. I never understood in life why people always think this weird way that people have to stick to their own kind and cannot go out of their circle, cannot form form inter circles. I just don't. I never understood. I do understand why people think that way. It's not that I understand. I do totally understand why people think that way. I just don't think that way. I don't respect that that way of thinking very much from my perspective. So to me, it was always the best thing to do, to just interact and to mix and to talk and to, sit together and have proper conversations, even if our worldviews are totally different. So I totally love this. Dear Christians, I love being with you. I love talking to you. I love communicating with you, being valued by you, valuing you. I also love the atheists that I communicate with, that come here, and that maybe through this friendship, through this collaboration, also decide to come here and to interact. I appreciate all of this. Some atheists might be angry about how I might become a Christian or how I collaborate with Christians, or some Christians might be angry that I'm not becoming a Christian, that you don't preach Christianity to me. But I don't think that is what this is about. I mean, people should just value what's happening here, because I certainly do.
Yeah, guys, we've talked about this before. I am politically in the West right now. It's supposed to be, hey, either someone has to agree with you completely, or you have to be trying to destroy them constantly. Never let them hear the end of anything. That's never occurred to me. I've mentioned before that if I'm in a room with an atheist and a Muslim, I'm agreeing with some of those guys or none of those guys, but depending on what the topic is, right? If the topic is whether Islam is true, I'm going to agree with the atheist that Islam is not true. If the topic is whether God created the universe, I'm going to agree with the Muslim and not agree with the atheist. If the topic is whether Jesus is Lord, I'm going to disagree with both of them. It's never crossed my mind that I have to agree with someone on all the issues, or we just can't get along. I mean, for years, it's just amazing to me. Now David's an anti-Muslim bigot. For years, most of my friends were Muslims, right? Like Nabil was my best friend throughout college, and it's just amazing. It's we got along because I actually got along better with Muslims, I think, because I kind of liked the more aggressive personalities, right? Where, like lots of Christians, if you got an argument with them, I don't want to cause a scene, so they didn't want to argue and didn't want to stand up for what they said and so on. Whereas the Muslims were more forceful and so on. Actually, hey, I can have a conversation with someone like that, right? I can have an argument with someone like that. So they were funner to be around, as far as that they worked better with my personality. And so my friends for a while were lots of Muslims. Now over the years, they either left Islam or they eventually got mad at me for talking about their prophet so much. But guys, you got to understand, hey, Muhammad talked about me, an apostate prophet, long before me, an apostate prophet, talked about Muhammad. Long before the apostate prophet made his first video, Muhammad said, if anyone leaves his Islamic religion, kill him, right? Long before I ever said a word, Muhammad was laying down rules about how I am to be violently subjugated and how my wife and children can be taken as slaves and so on. That was all there. So when we start talking about Islam, keep in mind, Muhammad started it, right? Muhammad started it. We're just here to deal with it. Yeah. But in a very loving, non-confrontational way, in which we would never dare criticize anything that Muhammad said, because that would upset the YouTube trust and safety team. So we just want it on record that we have reformed our ways. We would never dare criticize Muhammad's relationship with a 9-year-old girl, or any of the other things Muhammad did. Having sex with wife of his own adopted son, or violating his own revelations, or all the people he enslaved, raping his female captives and things. We are not going to criticize any of that ever again unless we accidentally slip up.
Yeah.
All right.
The way he massacred people, the way he was just extremely dirty, the way he viewed women as the devil and as tools and all that stuff. We respect different cultures, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep.
dear you too.
Different cultures. In fact, we respect every culture except our own.
Yeah, I hate my culture.
All right. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get off. I believe I'm going to be on live again tomorrow, but that's going to be a completely different topic. Going to be me and Inspiring Philosophy again, where we're going to be addressing a video by an atheist who issued a challenge to Christians to respond to some claims about morality and so on. So we're going to take a look at that, and that'll be tomorrow sometime.
Say hello to Inspiring Philosophy from an atheist. That's it.
All right. So I'll see you all tomorrow. I should have an episode of the Boom Boom Room up. People were asking about that. Should have up Muhammad. It's funny that we were talking about Deuteronomy 18:18 because let's just say that may or may not form the basis for Muhammad getting stoned in tomorrow's episode of the Boom Boom Room. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but that may be the case. So that should be up tomorrow, assuming I can get some editing done, and then live tomorrow. All right, I'll give the final word here to AP in case he has any final message of encouragement to everybody.
Of course. Thanks, everybody, and stay away from Islam.
I can't believe you just said that.
Oh, what?
No.
Thanks, everybody.
Convert.
Go closer to Islam.
Move closer to Islam.
Move closer to Islam.
It's the Apostate Prophet's new
With
motto.
all respect.
Grow closer to Islam, everyone.
I'll change this. I'll turn this into move closer to Islam.
Move closer to Islam. And then you'll be safe on YouTube forever.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love the Trust and Safety team.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Trust and Safety team. Thanks.